I'm Cath and this is Made by Cath Craft. Thank you very much for joining me for another video. And this one is going to be all about what I've been up to on the sewing front for the last week or so. So I've started a couple of new projects and I wanted to share them with you. I also realised when I filmed last week's video that I didn't include a make I'd finished just before we went on holiday. So I'm going to share that in this video instead, and I've got some sort of finished or pictures of the finished dress to share on that one. So yeah, I'm going to include that one today too. I've also got a bit of progress on my latest crochet project to share, but I'll pop that right at the end of the video. So it's the usual mix of sort of sewing projects and plans and whips and that sort of thing. But as usual, I'll start the video off with what I'm wearing today. And today I've got on two fairly new handmade garments. Actually, I've got this handmade top on and a skirt too, which I'll stand up and show a bit more of in a moment. Starting off with the top, this is a Freya top by Tilling the Buttons from the Stretch book. And you'll know if you've watched my channel for a while, or even probably not that long, you'll probably still know the Freya top is one of my favourite wintry tops. I have quite a few of them in my drawer that I reach for when the weather is cold, and it has been quite cold here this week still. Actually, we've had a bit of a late cold snap. And it's funny actually, I was thinking the other day when I was looking at my Freya tops, when I started to sew, it was an early pattern I tried, and my early Freya tops are all brightly coloured jerseys with kind of prints on. I think I was really attracted to those interesting fabrics. And then more recently, when I've made Freya tops, I think I've more opted for kind of neutral ones that will layer up really well and go with lots of different things. And they're the ones I tend to reach for a little bit more, unless I want kind of a standout top. So yes, this is one of my more recent ones. In this black fabric, it is a wide rib knit fabric that I got from Minerva. It's really lovely fabric. I think it's 95% cotton, 5% elastane. And it comes in quite a few different colours. I've sewn with 3 different colours of this fabric. I really like it. I'll link it down below. But I didn't get on so well with this black colourway as the other colourways. You may know if you've watched previous videos. This colourway I found when I started to sew it, it just behaved quite differently to other colourways that I'd used before, which are much lighter colours. It stretched out and I ended up with a Freya top that was really big and baggy on me, which I never had happen before. I didn't know what I wanted to do with this fabric, but I ended up unpicking it all and recutting it and re-sewing it. And now I'm quite happy with the fit. It was definitely worth doing, but it was a bit of a painful process. So yeah, I don't know what happened with this black colourway, but I'm glad I persevered because I do love the fabric. I like the kind of texture of the wide rib knit. And I thought a black one would be such a good staple for my wardrobe. And I did make a slight modification for this Freya that I haven't ever done before actually. So it has this sort of mock neckline, which usually sits a bit lower than the neckline I've got today. What I did was I changed the neckline I made it a little bit higher to make it a bit more snug and higher up my neck. And I also narrowed it a little bit to make it hug my neck a little bit more, because I find the Freya mock neckline usually sort of stands out a little bit. It's not designed to be really close fitting. And this fabric has a really good stretch and recovery, so I have to kind of pull it on over my head, but it kind of pings back into shape around the neckline. And I quite like it actually, the slightly higher, more snug neckline. It's really cosy. But other than that, I didn't make any other adjustments. I made my standard size 2 Freya top with slightly lengthened sleeves and slightly lengthened body. And I just quite like the kind of close fitting, it just feels like it goes with lots of things. So yeah, that's what I've got on top. And then I'm wearing with the skirt. I'll stand up a bit so you can see the skirt. So this skirt is another recent make. I think I finished it toward late last year. And it's actually a remake of a skirt that I made a few years ago in exactly the same fabric, exactly the same pattern. And the skirt got a bit tatty and old, and I had some fabric to make another version in my stash, and I knew I wanted to kind of remake it, and I finally got round to it late last year. And it's this pattern here. It is the Camden pinafore and skirt pattern by Nina Lee. It's a lovely woven skirt pattern. I think it's quite a wintry skirt, and you can also make this cute, quite fitted pinafore with this sort of princess seams on it and a zip all the way down the back. But I've never made the pinafore actually. I think if I did make it, I think I definitely want to make a toile to make sure this, because it's quite a fitted body, and I think I might need to lengthen the body and just work on the princess seam lines and that sort of thing. So maybe a project at some point in the future if I wanted a kind of fun project where I have to think quite hard about fit. But yeah, I've made the skirt, which is a bit easier to fit because you pretty much have to make it fit around your waist, and then otherwise it kind of is an A-line, so it sort of tapers off away from your hips a little bit. It's got the invisible zip at the back and these cute pockets, which are a bit of a feature. That's like angled corner on them. And it's designed to be made in sort of medium weight fabrics with body. So yeah, definitely more of a wintry style skirt. And the version I made is in a needle cord fabric that I got a long time ago from Cath. It's a Robert Kaufman needle cord, which is such lovely quality, and this beautiful sort of rust colour. Such a rich sort of autumnal colour, I think. And yeah, I've actually really enjoyed revisiting the pattern to remake this skirt. I was a bit reluctant to do it because I think it's never so exciting to remake something. It's always fun to like try new things and see how they turn out. But actually I was able to tweak the fit a little bit because my first version sat a little bit loose on the waist. So I brought in the waist a little bit on this version and then tapered out to the same hip measurement as I used on my first version because I like the extra room around the hips. And it was funny, I think I mentioned at the time when I was actually tracing out the pattern pieces for the slightly revised waistline, I realised I'd traced the wrong lines for the pockets, and I think because there are two, maybe like the size 6 and then one of the larger sizes had a very similar line, I'd taken one of the size 6 lines and one of the larger size lines, and it ended up being a narrower pocket than it was supposed to be. I'll stand up it so you can see what the pocket does look like. So it's supposed to be quite a bit wider at the top to make a larger pocket. But actually, once I realised I'd done it on my first version, I decided I actually quite liked it. So I kept the narrow pockets on this version, and I quite like the look of them. So yeah, and I used a kind of I used a lining I got from Cath. For the pockets, and the skirt's fully lined as well. I'll show you the kind of lining. It's just a nice sort of viscose lining in a creamy colour. But yeah, I'll put up a picture so you can see what it looks like on the skirt. I think I went for a size 8 on the waist, which actually is my waist measurement. I think I might have sized up my first version slightly because I thought I might tuck chunky jumpers in, but actually I find with the 8 there is still enough room, I think, to be able to tuck a jumper in, and it does sit quite nice and snugly around my waist. And I just quite like the fit of it. It's got darts at the back and I feel like it skims over my sort of bottom area quite nicely. Sometimes I find with skirts or things I've got a bit of a sway back, so there can be a bit of extra fabric there and a bit of gathering, but I find for me the Camden skirt just seems to sort of sit quite nicely across here, yeah, compared to some sort of patterns I've tried. So yes, that is what I'm wearing today. I feel quite smart for being around the house in this outfit, but it's quite comfy too. So yes, that's what I'm wearing. So I think I'll kick off this video by sharing the make that I forgot to share in last week's video that I'd finished just before I went on holiday. And it's a dress I made using a pattern that I'd sewn once before last summer and really enjoyed sewing and really loved the finished dress. And I wanted to try it again, but a slightly different version. And the pattern is this one here. It is the Dovestone Dress pattern by Izzo Sew Studio. So Izzo Sew Studio, they are a fairly new pattern company. I think they've just got 2 patterns out at the moment, but I think there are more in the pipeline. And yeah, I remember seeing some tester versions of the Dovestone dress on Instagram, and I just thought it was really pretty and a little bit different. So it's, yeah, you can make it either as this full length sort of long dress that I think they've styled here with a pair of heels. Could be quite a nice evening dress, but also lovely for a summer holiday. Or you can make it as a version here, which is just below the knee. And it's got this pretty sort of neckline and then this long drawstring that you slip into a casing that you make around the top of the dress, and then you can kind of tie it in different ways to create slightly different looks. So it's a bit flexible, and I think it's perfect for, yes, there's light to medium weight fabrics with the drape. The long version has this slit at the front. That is the version I made for my first dress I made last summer. And it's got a good size range too. It goes from a UK size 6 to 34, and it has B and D cup options included too. So yes, I was quite keen to revisit this pattern, and I decided to make a second version. There'll be a nice summery one, and I wanted to go for the shorter version this time, having made the longer version before. And I had some fabric that I'd bought a while ago as a remnant piece, quite a decent sized remnant piece in a local shop to me. And I had sort of bought it thinking I'd like to make something summery, and then I suddenly thought, actually, I would love to turn that into the Dovestone dress. I wasn't quite sure, and once I decided that, I just wanted to go ahead and sew it. Even though it's not really the time of year for summer dresses. I thought I'll sew it now, and then I'll really enjoy wearing it when the sun does eventually come out and it warms up here. So yes, here is my finished Dovestone dress. This is the fabric, and it's one of those dresses that doesn't look so much on the hanger because it just kind of hangs down, so you can't really see the lovely shape of it. But you can see a little bit. You can see the sort of V-neck at the front, and then it's got this sort of drawstring channel all around the back here, that you kind of thread the ties through and be able to tie it up. And then as you can see here, I've gone for the shorter length. But yeah, the fabric is a lovely viscose fabric. I really like this red colour. I had my colours done a long time ago, and I think this is one of my colours. And I love the floral prints on it. I think it's a really pretty one. I like the colours, the little teeny bit of black and the whites in there and things. So yes, this is my finished Dovestone dress. I made the size 6, which is what I made for my first version. I think I was slightly in between the size 6 and 8 when I looked at the sort of body measurements. But having sort of read a bit about other people who'd made them, like the tester versions, and what size they'd gone for and what their body measurements were, I thought I'd be better to size down slightly than size up. I thought it might end up a little bit sort of too baggy maybe around the bust otherwise. And then I think I've made a couple of adjustments basically to lengthen the dress. I think on my first version I'd already lengthened the pattern pieces by 1 inch around the body area, and I think I added another 1 or 1.5 inches to the bottom because I thought I'd actually like it to be a bit more midi length rather than just below the knee, so I wanted it to come a little bit lower. So I think it might be in about 2 or 2.5 inches I ended up adding overall to the dress length, and I'm 5'6" for reference, just so you can see how it comes up on me when I pop a picture up in a moment. But yeah, it's a really enjoyable sew, this one. I find it comes together quite quickly. I guess because you kind of cut sort of one pattern piece for each side of the front, so you don't make a separate bodice and skirt. The kind of whole dress is one piece of fabric, so you pretty much sew it up in one go like that, rather than making a bodice and skirt and popping them together like I find it often do, because I do love a dress with a gathered skirt. So it's a bit different for me, which I really like. But yeah, I'll put up a picture of the finished dress so you can see how it turned out. And I'm really, really happy with it, actually. I tried tying the straps in a couple of different ways, and I found with this version I prefer more of an empire line look, where I kind of tie the straps just kind of fairly close to under my bust, rather than sort of tying them around to bring it in more at my waist. So yeah, that is how I think I'll wear it. But yeah, it's definitely very summery. I did think, actually, because I think I posted on Instagram around Valentine's Day, I did think it would be a lovely dress for wearing out on Valentine's Day too, maybe with like a black cardigan and some black tights or something, but we didn't go on Valentine's Day, so I didn't have that option, so I think I'm going to save it for summer. But yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out. It was really enjoyable, so I'm definitely glad to have another one of them in my wardrobe. I'd happily sew more of the Dovestone dress, but I don't currently need any more now. But maybe if a sort of amazing standout fabric comes along at some point in the future, I might consider another one. Or I think it would look lovely in a plain fabric too, but I thought for summer, nice to sew with something bright, and I think a floral is always quite nice and summery. So yes, I thought I'd share that first, my finished Dovestone dress. Oh, and I had a look online to see if I could find this fabric in stock anywhere online. It's really lovely viscose, and did find that Minerva have a little bit of it in stock, so I'll link it down below. It actually comes in 2 colourways, I discovered, this lovely red colour, and then also a black that also has this sort of floral print on with slight sort of, it's got whites or flowers with slight blue tones on. It's very pretty as well. And both those colourways come up under the same link, so yeah, I'll link that down below. It was really nice fabric to sew with, actually. I didn't find it snagged at all like some delicate fabrics. And also what I quite like about it is it's quite red on the inside too. Like, it's not like a white with a bright red print on it. It is kind of red through and through. So if you did snag it, I don't think you'd come up with like a really obvious sort of white line on it like you would with some fabrics that run and have quite a bright print on one side and sort of a pale colour on the back. And yeah, it's lovely and drapey and floaty. So yes, fingers crossed the weather will warm up in the not too distant future, so I can enjoy wearing this one out. So yeah, that is my Dovestone dress. I'll link the Dovestone dress pattern down below as well. It's a really fun sew and a bit different, I think. So the next thing that I've got to share is another completed sewing project. And this is one that I finished just this week, and it was quite a speedy sew. And it's not something that I made for myself, actually. It's something I sewed for my sister. And I haven't really sewed clothes for my sister before. I've made a few dresses for her daughter, so my niece, and I do make things every now and then for my mum and my husband and my children, but not usually if my sister. I have made her things in the past, but not really clothes. I knitted her some little Christmas decorations for the tree, and I also crocheted her a bag for last Christmas. But yeah, I never made her clothes before. But last week she came round to my house. I think it was actually on the day I filmed my last week's video, because I was wearing a sweatshirt. It's like a pink grid sweatshirt, and we were just talking about clothes, and my sister was saying how she could do with some more sweatshirts in her wardrobe. But I think it's sometimes quite hard to get out to the shops with a small child, or just find what you want, really, I guess. So I said I'd be very happy to make her one, and she tried on the sweatshirt I was wearing last week, and it fits her pretty well. We're kind of a similar size. So yeah, we had a look online and chose some fabric and agreed on a couple of slight adjustments to the pattern. So I ordered that fabric, it came, and I've got it pre-washed and sewed up all fairly quickly, because it's a pattern that I've made quite a lot before, so it's quite an easy sew. And so the sweatshirt I was wearing last week, and the pattern is this one here, the Jarrah sweatshirt pattern by Megan Nielsen, which I really like. And the version I was wearing last week was this one here, the classic sweatshirt. It's got this drop shoulder, kind of like an oversized boxy fit, just a round neck and cuffs and a bottom band. And my sister just wanted something like that, something that was really easy to style with lots of things, no fuss, just a really kind of simple basic sweatshirt. So yeah, I made the size 0 for her, which is what I usually make for me. Yeah, here is the sweatshirt that I made for her. And I think, yeah, she chose the fabric. I think it's a really pretty colour, actually. Yeah, I really like it. So this is, I made it because my sister often feels the cold, so she wanted something fairly cosy. So this is a fleece backed sweatshirt, so you can see the nice fleecy inside there. And this came from First for Fabrics. I think it might be called like a brushed French terry. I can't remember. I'll link this fabric down below. It's the colour Aqua, and I was able to get matching ribbing for it, which is great. So I've got the ribbing on the neckband and on the cuffs and the bottom band, which was nice. And then I ordered on thread and just asked First for Fabrics to send me thread that would match the colour, and I'm really the colour match is really great. So you can say use a twin needle around the neckline there. The colour match is really nice. So it was nice they did that. So I find some fabric shops online where you can't get a matching thread. It can be a bit, you have to then go and sort of order it separately, or I have to go into town to get some, and it can just make the project a bit longer when I want to get it done. So that was really nice. So yeah, I sewed this up. It was really nice to sew with. I think I've sewn with this fabric before. I think I made my son a pair of joggers and possibly my mum a pair of joggers in different colourways of the fabric. But yeah, I really love this aqua colourway. I think it's really pretty colour, and it'll suit my sister nicely. She's a bit more, has fairer hair than I do. So yeah, I think it will suit her really nicely. So yes, this is the Jarrah sweatshirt I made for her. I made the size 0, but she asked me to make it a little bit longer. I always lengthen it for myself anyway, but I added on a couple of extra inches for her to make it really nice and long. Just to kind of come down and keep her really nice and cozy. And other than that, I pretty much made it as I would make it for me, same sleeve length, and that sort of thing. And it came together really nicely, as the Jarrah sweatshirt generally does. It's a really nice, simple sew. I think the only slightly more tricky bit is making sure that the neckband sort of lies nice and flat. I usually sort of baste it in and check it before I then sort of sew it in. I didn't overlock because I thought it would be more comfy on the inside to have just the sort of nice sort of fabric without the overlock. I find the overlock can be a little bit more rough, and I wanted to make it as comfy as possible for my sister. And obviously the fabric won't really fray. So yeah, here it is. Hopefully I'll be able to give that to her soon so she can enjoy wearing it while the weather is still nice and cold. But yeah, I'll link the Jarrah sweatshirt pattern down below, and this fabric too. I do like how you can get everything you need from First for Fabrics, and it came with a lovely note from Tamlin, which I always really like receiving too. So yeah, that was my quite a speedy make this week. I'm looking forward to giving that to my sister. She can enjoy wearing it, and then, you know, I could always make her another one in the future once she's tried that one and she's happy with the length, or if she wants it lengthened or shortened, I could always tweak it for another version in the future. So yeah, I'm pleased to have made that. And the next thing that I wanted to share is my current sewing project that I'm working on at the moment, which is definitely a bit more of a meaty one than the Jarrah sweatshirt. And this is using some fabric that I've had in my stash for a while and wasn't really sure what to do with it. And then it's using a new pattern that I bought this week. And it's a pattern that I've seen around for quite a long time, and I'm really enjoying giving it a go. So yeah, I'll share the fabric first. This is the fabric. It is a lightweight linen fabric that I bought maybe a couple of years ago from Ditto Fabrics. I'll link their website down below. I doubt this fabric is still in stock because they often have unusual things coming through and then once they're gone, they're gone. But yeah, it's a lovely lightweight linen fabric with this sort of classic sort of stripe on. Quite a nice summery fabric. And I got it because I like stripes, but also because I'd never sort of bought a lightweight linen before and I wanted to just see what it was like and just give it a go. So yeah, you can see it is quite sort of lightweight and sort of, it's not exactly drapey, I guess, but it is kind of, yeah, lightweight and quite floaty. Definitely a suitable fabric for summer. This is actually the leftover fabric because I think I bought a couple of meters maybe of this fabric, maybe 2 meters or 2.5 meters, thinking I might make a cord set or a dress, and that isn't what I've ended up going for. So I've actually got quite a lot left over. I can maybe turn in something else that I'll maybe have to think about at some point in the future. But what I have cut out and started to sew is this pattern here. It is the Olia, I'm not sure I'm saying that right, the Olia shirt and shirt dress pattern by Paper Theory. And I'm going for the shirt version. So I've tried one Paper Theory pattern before, the Zadie jumpsuit, which I really love. And I do like the look of all the Paper Theory patterns. And I don't know what made me suddenly think I should just start sewing this fabric into this pattern, but I don't even know how that happened. It only happened a week ago, but I can't even remember. But I just thought actually that would be so cool to have like a linen shirt for summer. That's something I could really use, maybe if we went on holiday somewhere hot, just to sort of pop over the top of swimwear or a dress, just keep me covered up from the sun. And I thought lightweight linen would be perfect for that. And what I really love about this pattern is this interesting front construction, which means you kind of cut this front yoke and sleeve piece all as one. And I've seen some lovely versions where people play with the stripe direction. So cutting this, so the stripes, fabric piece, the stripes go this way and the stripes go down here. And it really makes a lovely feature out of the stripes. So yeah, I thought it'd be a really fun pattern to try. In terms of size, it goes from a 6 to a 28. What does that take you up to? It takes you up to a bust of 56 inches. But it is designed to be quite oversized, this shirt. So there's quite, when you look at the body measurements versus the finished garments, there's quite a lot of ease built in. And I thought an oversized shirt would be perfect for summer. I was a little bit nervous when I bought this pattern actually, because I bought it from the Fold line and I had a look at some of the reviews on the Fold line as well as on Instagram. And a lot of people were saying it's really complicated. It does say it's an advanced level pattern, but a lot of people were saying they found the construction a bit confusing at points. It was quite tricky. People said they love the finished shirt, but the actual process of getting there could be a bit of a head scratcher at points. But I thought, well, it's fun sometimes to try a bit of a challenge. Let's just see how I go. I haven't done a lot of, shirts with like a proper placket. Like a proper kind of cuff. Can't think what you call it. Is it button placket on the cuff? I don't know. I haven't done a lot of those, so I thought it'd be nice to give it another go. And yeah, just a bit of fun to try it really. And I thought this construction of this whole piece here would be really interesting to see how that comes along. And I know actually what I've been using as I've started sewing is the Paper Theory now have a video on YouTube where they talk through each of the stages in the construction. And a few people had said that video was really, really helpful because the instructions left them a little bit scratching their head at points, but the video is really lovely and visual to be able to see exactly what you're doing. So yeah, I've been watching that as I've been working on the shirt and making my way through the steps. One thing I decided to do was omit the pockets. So you have these sort of pockets here. They're sort of you can see it's got a little sort of dotted line around because you kind of sew them on the inside and they're kind of almost invisible. They're kind of hidden in this seam a little bit. And that was one of the areas that people seem to be saying was particularly tricky. And I just thought, with this fabric being quite lightweight and a little bit sheer, you might be able to see the pockets a bit too much underneath. And actually, I thought also because this fabric is so lightweight, the pockets might not hold their structure very well. And I probably wouldn't use them. So I didn't think they'd be actually that much a welcome design feature for the shirt I wanted to make. And also I thought for my first Olia shirt, it would just make it a little bit more straightforward and I wouldn't get too daunted by having an early tricky issue with the pockets and then sort of be reluctant to carry on. So I thought what I'll do is I'll make a pocketless version for my first version, and then maybe at some point in the future I'll make another version, maybe in like a more of a crisp fabric like a cotton lawn, and try and tackle the pockets. But we'll see how this version turns out first. That was just my thinking. I love the look of the dress too, actually. I think that's really pretty. So you know, we'll see how I get on with this version, see what the fit's like, see how I find, you know, sewing up the rest of it, because I'm only part way through, and see whether I want to give it a go again. But I'm enjoying it so far, so I'll show you how I'm getting on. So here is my Olia shirt. So it's mainly together. The collar and the cuffs aren't on yet, but the first part in the process was sewing the little sleeve placket. That's what I'm going to call it. I might have got that wrong. I'll show you one of my sleeve pieces here. So it's got the front and back piece here, and then this is the inside. So yeah, it's not perfect, but I'm fairly happy with how it turned out. I'm quite like how the outside's turned out in terms of neatness. And then you can see, if I hold it up, I've kind of sewn the front together here, so you can see that's the kind of front and the arm with the stripe, and then you've got the stripe going the other way down the front, and then no pockets there. And then it's quite interesting on the back, you kind of have to pivot around this corner, end up with this little sort of square piece here, which is quite fiddly actually, and I'm quite pleased to have done one of those, and I need to do the other one. I've got it at the moment clipped, so I've done sort of put one shoulder piece together and the other one's still to be done. And then it's got a lovely little sort of, is it a box pleat in the back, which I think is quite a pretty feature, and again the back yoke, so you have the kind of playing with stripes in the back too. So yeah, I'm just seeing how it goes. One thing I wasn't sure about, and I'm just going along with the pattern at the moment, is I interfaced in full these pieces here, and I'm going to interface the collar, but this fabric is really lightweight and it wants you to interface both the collar stand pieces and both the little placket pieces, and I'm not sure if it might end up feeling a little bit too bulky because it's such lightweight fabric, and maybe I should only interface maybe one of the collar stands. I'm going to have to think about that. I did interface these in full, but I'm thinking again they are a little bit more sturdy with interfacing in on such a light fabric, even though I use quite a lightweight interfacing. But I'm just treating this as a bit of a fun project where I try it out and hopefully end up with a shirt that I'll enjoy at the end. It doesn't have to be perfect, but yeah, just seeing how I go. I also stay stitch around the neckline, which the pattern doesn't actually say to do, but I thought with this linen fabric around the neckline, it would be quite easy for it to stretch out quite a bit, so I thought I'd add that step in. But yeah, so it is looking a little bit like a shirt now, and I think it will be lovely and floaty for summer. But yeah, I'm just going to see how I'm going. I do love a bit of playing with stripe direction and things, and actually I had thought originally of a dress or a cowl set for this fabric, but I think it'll be perfect as a shirt, and there is quite a lot left if I did want to do something else with it. So maybe once I finish this, I'll have a look at how much left I've got and see what else I could use it for. But yeah, I'm enjoying it so far, and it's nice to try a challenge every now and then, isn't it? So yeah, that is my current project. I had a look yesterday and found some different button options. I think my main two button options are these buttons, which I was kindly gifted early this year by Georgia, who's the Mend It maker. I think the only thing is the pattern says the shirt needs 9 buttons, and I've only got 8, so I don't know if I get away with maybe one less button on the front placket, so they would be a nice option. They've got white with a little hint of blue in, so that would tie in really well with the blue and white fabric. Oh, I also found these buttons in my button box, which are slightly larger. They're quite a crisp white colour, so they might be nice too. So I've just got them all in this little sewing tray that I sometimes use to keep things on, ready for later, because I'm not at the button stage yet. But yeah, I'll let you know how I get on. Oh, in terms of sizing, I didn't mention that. I went for a size 6. My bust would put me in between a size 6 and a size 8, I think. So I wasn't sure which way to go, but I know it's designed to be quite oversized. So the size 6 bust the body measurement is 31.5 inches, and then the actual finish measurement is 42.5 inches. So it's over 10 inches of ease. So I thought, well, I'll go for the size 6 and just see how I get on. It's going to be oversized anyway, so probably the sizing isn't too critical anyway. I did lengthen the sleeves by 1 inch, just because I often find I need to lengthen sleeves, so I thought to be on the safe side, I'll lengthen the sleeve by 1 inch. But I've seen a lot of people actually just roll the sleeve up anyway, so probably it's not too critical on that measurement either. I think if I was wearing it as a summer shirt, I probably would roll the sleeves up. So yeah, anyway, I'll let you know how I get on with this one, how I get on as I carry on with the pattern. Yeah, definitely enjoying trying something a bit more challenging. I'm glad to have found a use for this fabric. It is another quite a summery make, but yeah, it's nice to be thinking about summer. So yeah, that is what I'm up to at the moment. And then the next thing that I wanted to share was an update on my latest crochet project that I've been working on. And this is very much a wintry project, unlike the Olia shirt and the Dovestone dress. I think I've been sewing for summer in a way, but I'm still crocheting for winter. And I shared that I was starting this one last week, or I started it last week. It is a crochet cowl using this pattern here. It's called the Easy Crochet Twisted Cowl by mycrochetspace.com, and it's a free pattern I found just by searching online, and I'll link it down below. And I was looking for a pattern to use up some leftover yarn I had from another project. It was a We Are Knitters yarn called Merry Fine, which is like an Aran weight merino yarn. It's lovely yarn that I'd originally used for a cardigan, and I had 3 balls left over, and it seemed a shame not to have used them for something, so I had a look online and found this cowl, and I thought actually that's something that I could really use, particularly when I'm out on the school run or on a cold day on a walk. It's nice to have something cozy around your neck, and I don't often wear a scarf, so I thought this would be a nice little alternative. It's fits a bit more neatly around my neck, I guess. So yeah, I decided to do that, and I've made really good progress on the cowl. I've been really enjoying picking up and doing it in the evenings. It's quite methodical, so I can easily watch. My husband and I have been watching a sort of thriller series, and I've been able to concentrate quite hard on the TV while also doing the crochet. So yes, here is my cowl, and it's nearly done now. So you can see it's twisted because you basically crochet on the flat, and then once you've finished, you twist it a couple of times and then sew the seams, so it ends up having that kind of pretty sort of twisted shape, which is easier to see on this mustard colour. The black colour I think doesn't show up quite as well on the screen. So I pretty much finished it now, and I'm just sewing up the back seam at the moment, so I'm kind of halfway through that. I sort of wanted to finish it last night, but it was getting late, and I thought, no, I'll leave it for tomorrow. So I'm just sewing it up now, and then it'll be done, and it is quite a snug fit. I did make it slightly less wide than the pattern, but yeah, I kind of wanted it to fit quite snugly. I should be able to put it on now so I can sort of show you how it needs. So it's quite nice and sort of cozy around my neck, as you can see. Oh, I haven't dropped my needle. There it is. But yeah, so it's been a really fun make, and I actually used all 3 balls of yarn. I had 3 balls of Merry Fine, and I wasn't sure if I'd need all 3, but I got to sort of the point of where it looked like a decent sort of width or sort of height to the pattern, and I had maybe like a quarter of a ball left off, so I thought I'd just finish it off and only leave enough for the tail at the end to sew up. And actually I quite like it. It's tended to quite nice. It's quite nice and chunky, but not super chunky, if you know what I mean. So yeah, that's how it's ended up with 3 balls of the Merry Fine yarn. So I'm really pleased to have used it all and not be left with like an annoying amount left over at the end. So yeah, I just need to sew that up and that'll be done. But I really enjoyed this pattern. It was nice and easy to understand, and it also I learned a new way of kind of casting on, or I don't know what you call it in crochet, but instead of actually starting by making a chain, you don't. What is it called? They call it. It's a bit of an interesting way to start, which I hadn't done before. Where does it say it? Find it. You start with foundation half double crochet stitches, which I looked on YouTube to find out what I was doing, and once I got it, it was actually a really nice way of starting, and much easier than having to count how many stitches in a chain. And I think the pattern said it ends up making it a little bit more, giving it a bit more of an elastic edge as well, and given that it's quite sort of fairly sort of snug, it's nice to have the extra elastic edge to be able to pull over my head. So yeah, that is what I've been making. I'll link the pattern down below and also the yarn I've been using. It's been a nice little project, and I'll be quite sad when it's over, although I have got some more knitting and crochet plans in the pipeline to get on with once I finish this, so I won't be sitting twiddling my thumbs. But yeah, I'll be sad when it's over, but actually it's still quite cold outside, and it'll be nice to be able to wear this before the weather does start to warm up. So yeah, that is my progress on my crochet project. So I think that's everything that I've got to share in today's video. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you've had a good week too. Do let me know what you're working on in the comments below. It's always really nice to find out what other people are sewing or knitting or crocheting as well, and get some inspiration. Yes, thank you again for watching, and I'll look forward to seeing you for another video again soon. Bye!